Welcome back to another episode of X's and O's. We are in NFL Week 9, and me and Max are going to be breaking down the games from this week. Say hello, Max.
What's going on?
So, you picked the games this week, so I'm going to let you start out with them. All right?
All right, let's do it.
But I'm going to do the first one because I picked that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
So, the first game that we're going to go over, not long, we just want to touch on some things, is the Bengals Panthers. Now, if you watched last week's video, we don't care about either of these teams, let's be honest. But you did what we said to do,
Yep.
Zach Taylor. You made a creative game plan. Creative. Also known as fundamental football. Give the ball to Joe Mixon. Create a run game. 4 touchdowns, 153 yards. Rushing. Receiving. 58 yards and a touchdown. You didn't have to do anything complicated. You didn't have to have crazy splash plays and streaks. I understand you're playing the Carolina Panthers, who are arguably one of the worst teams in football. I am one person to say, I don't think they're as bad as their record shows. I think their defense has talent on it. Offensively, not as much talent anymore. Losing Christian McCaffrey and Baker playing kind of bad this year. But I think that defense is talented. And to do this to a defense like Carolina's, I think it was kind of a statement game that I think it's a statement. I don't know how you want to say if it's a statement or not. But last week when you got embarrassed by Cleveland, it was bad, Max. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
And this week you come out and you show we can run the ball and we don't need the splash play to score. Yes, it's against a bad team, but I think just 42 points in the NFL is 42 points in the NFL. You're still scoring 42, and you don't have Jamar. You created a game plan where you don't need him, and you won the game.
Yep.
Anything to say about that?
Man, I think you kind of touched on it. I think it just speaks to how important having or establishing a run game is for any football team, especially this one. I think the offensive line had a stellar performance. I mean, when your running back's getting 5 touchdowns, and he ran for what, almost 200 or 153 yards.
Yep.
I mean, that's a testament to the entire offense working, the play calling, the offensive line in particular. I mean, like you said, Carolina's a bad football team, but their defense is really, really good. So, I mean, credit where credit's due. Good game for the Bengals, but we got to see it against real teams.
Yeah. Do you know who they play next week? I can't think of it. Maybe they're on a bye. I don't know who they play.
They might be. I'm not sure.
I don't really care to check. Let's be honest. But I don't think, because I asked you this at the end of every game last week. I don't think this really moves them anywhere on the power rankings. If we had power rankings for them,
No.
I think they're just kind of stay with, like, you got kind of like you said, they got to prove it against a real
I
team.
mean, they still haven't beaten a single team in their division. Go beat a team in your division.
Dolphins Bears. It's going to the next game.
Yeah.
So you picked this game, and I want you to talk about it.
I think there's a lot to take away from this game. Let me start with the bad, and then I'll get into the good. I think there's much more good than bad, but I'm going to start with the bad to get it out of the way. The Dolphins don't have a defense. They just don't. They don't know how to play defense. They don't try to play defense. I mean, coming into this game, Justin Fields is one of the worst passing quarterbacks in the league. I still believe he is, but he had a hell of a game. The guy almost ran for 200 yards. Look at his stats. And I'm not trying to discredit anything from Justin Fields. I think he's certainly a guy that's improving every single game, and I think he's a guy that can be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I just think he needs to work on his throwing. But when you have guys like Noah Benogany, Xavier Howard without Byron Jones, Eric Rowe, and some others, I mean, that secondary, it's beat up. I understand there's injuries, and, it's part of the beast in football. It sucks to have injuries, but at least try a little bit. Show some effort. 3 passing touchdowns to Justin. Giving up 3 passing touchdowns to Justin Fields, 4 in total, including the rushing touchdown, is unacceptable in my opinion. I know Bradley Chubb just got on the team, so I'm not gonna, I'm gonna cut him some slack. But I think the pass rush was abysmal yesterday, to be honest with you. So I think they did a terrible job trying to put pressure on the quarterback. Every single time they did, Justin Fields just ran all over him. So I was pretty pissed off about that. But let me go into the positive, which again I stress is a lot. There's a lot more positive than negative. I mean, look at Tua's numbers, man. I mean, this guy isn't getting talked about enough about, being one of the more improved players in the NFL this year, being in that most improved player conversation. I understand guys like Geno Smith deserve to be in that, justifiably so. And I know we're going to get into that game later, so I won't go into too much detail. But I mean, when you're throwing for 300 yards on a top 10 defense in the NFL, to me, that says a lot. And I understand he has great weapons around him, which certainly helps. But he is making the right reads. Some people will nitpick some throws here and there, but there's no such thing as a perfect quarterback. Quarterbacks make mistakes all the time. The important thing is that he doesn't those bad throws don't translate into turnovers, and that's exactly what he avoided. He didn't throw any picks. He played a highly efficient game, 21 for 30. You couldn't ask for more. Staking with the offense. Jeff Wilson, I mean, talk about a great acquisition. A lot of these trades, you have to be careful with the guys early on because they're learning the playbook. But, a guy like Jeff Wilson played under Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. So it's the same run scheme he was running, or he was, working with McDaniel in San Francisco here in Miami. So he just fit like a glove. They used him in both the running game and the passing game, and he was incredibly effective, and you could just see how much of a difference maker he's going to be for this offense. So one more thing, Tyreek Hill broke 1,000 yards already. He's the fastest player to 1,100 yards total in the Super Bowl era, which is crazy. I mean, he already has over 1,100 yards, and it's only going to be week 10 coming up. We still got 8 more weeks. Just think about that. I mean, this guy's due for a historic year. People that were doubting him, saying he was a byproduct of Kansas City system and Mahomes. Yeah, I don't know where you're at now, but not a great look.
So I'm going to talk about the flip side in the Chicago Bears first. I've been skeptical about Justin Fields. I've said he can be good, but he isn't good. One of those situations. And I mean, you threw for 123 yards. You look at that. You threw 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns is good, of course.
Yeah.
123 yards. That's kind of like that Mariota game a few weeks ago. Where you're like, all right, like you were good, but you didn't really do much. But the difference is Mariota didn't run for 178 yards and a touchdown. This was easily Justin Fields' best game of his career. But, came out with a loss. Do you see that at the bottom, that pop up?
Yeah.
But easily Justin Fields' best game of his career. Now, where do you go from here with Justin Fields? Because, like you said, there was issues on the Miami defensive side. And this was Claypool's first game. He had 6 targets, 2 catches, which is ass, but
not great. Yeah.
Obviously it's his first week there. You expect him to later down the road be better. Justin Fields has been playing great the past 3 weeks. They beat New England, played good against the Cowboys. They lost, and then played good here and they lost. So for the future of the Bears, they're 3-6 at the moment. This team is most likely not making the playoffs. They're 4 games behind in their division. It's very interesting to see where they will take this direction with Justin Fields. Because you're getting to a point where it's his second year. He's starting to have really good games now, Max. We can't deny that. He's using his abilities now. They're running with him. They're making opportunity. It's not so much of a offense where I don't want to call out Matt Nagy for this, but it's not so much of a set offense how the coach wants to run it. It's how the players will succeed in their offense.
Are you talking about Matt Eberflus?
No, I'm talking about when Matt Nagy was there.
Oh, what he was doing. Okay.
It was more of a, how set offense is what I want to run.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing more of a Fields-led offense, as in the offense flows through Fields.
So you're saying you're seeing a little bit of like that Ravens scheme with Lamar.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, listen, if we can't pass the ball this game, we can't pass the ball. We'll run it. If we can't run the ball, okay, we can make plays to throw. It's kind of like taking what the defense is gonna give you.
Right.
And he ran for 178. Obviously you see the running backs only 36 and 23, but
that's because he was carrying the football.
Exactly. So when the offense can flow through him, you can get people opportunities later down the road when the team is much better. So when this team, I don't think right now you look too highly of them. I don't think people look, but if you're really watching the games, I feel like the past 3 weeks have been a different Bears team since that New England game.
No doubt. Yeah.
And then if you're talking about Miami, I'm going to go talk about your boy Tua. I am a certified Tua roaster. I will always roast Tua. But I've noticed something the past few weeks with Tua, and you kind of brought it up. You said, yes, he has his weapons. He does. He has Tyreek Hill. Is that the excuse we're using now for him throwing passes? Because beforehand it was, oh, he can't get the ball to people. And now that he has a weapon, it's because he has Tyreek. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like people are just kind of making excuses to talk at this point. Like, 302, 3 touchdowns, efficient. Tyreek is on pace for a phenomenal season. And, I'm a Tyreek and Mahomes guy. Like, you remember the whole conversation we had in the offseason?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's not going to do what he did with Mahomes. He's doing better. He's in a scheme where it fits him. Defenses aren't playing the just prevent Tyreek Hill.
Well, and it's not like they're force feeding him the football either on the offensive side,
You have Jalen Waddle, 5 catches, 85 yards. You have 2 players where I think we spoke about it last week.
Yeah.
You have 2 players who are just run after catch guys. And they're just, I don't want to say, how do I word this? I don't want to say Tua fits like a dink and dunk scheme, but he doesn't have to do much for them to go crazy because they're all playing so well together.
Sure.
Like if your offense, like we'll use Tom Brady's offense as an example. Not now, back in New England. They just had to run some slants and a couple corner routes, just like that, and then boom, you have the middle of the field open. That's what they're doing in Miami. I feel like they're just taking.
Well, it's not like they're not taking their shots down the field either.
No,
which
they are.
I agree. It's very much rack heavy.
It's very let your playmakers be playmakers.
That's the McDaniels way. It's let's establish the run, and then once we establish the run, like think about the things they were doing with Deebo Samuel. They were scheming with him as well. It was really last year they started scheming with him as a running back, but even with Mike McDaniel in there, they were doing a lot of short yardage stuff with him. Some just some like he was a Swiss Army knife type guy. So like they utilized him in all different facets of the game. Short yardage, down the field. All sorts of play types, and you're seeing a guy like Tyreek being used in a versatile way, like they did with Deebo in San Francisco, and I think maybe to a lesser extent, but you're also seeing a lot of the short yardage work being used by Jalen Waddle, who again, Jalen Waddle can catch the ball 10 yards down the field, but then make a play to break out for 15, 20 yards because he's just so fast. So I think you're spot on in that as well.
It's a lot of I know it's very like how do you say it? It gets brought up a lot. We say it a lot. It's a common thing. We talk about like, you catch the ball, you make a 5-yard play, a 20-yard play. But really, when you watch a Waddle Tyreek catch over the middle, they will make it a 20-yard play most of the times. They will be able to escape the guy in the left of him and the right of them and get an extra 5-10 yards. Right. And I think that makes all the difference in honestly benefiting Tua, because the whole Tua doesn't have the arm strength, all the memes and the jokes about him. I get it. Obviously you get it. You watch the games. But when you can run an offense that's as deadly as we can make any play a touchdown, look what happened yesterday. Tyreek would catch a flat route and run up 40 yards down the sideline.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see how this team's going to play against. I don't want to say real teams because they played real teams this year. They've won those games.
They beat Buffalo.
Exactly. When it comes time for the postseason, how will teams scheme against them? Because
I think that's a great point.
If you remember the Tyreek, I hate bringing up the Tyreek Chiefs era, but if you remember the AFC Championship, New England at Kansas City, they schemed Tyreek out of the game. 2 corners on him, a safety on him, over the top. Nothing to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Will teams, now that this team has a Waddle, will teams kind of follow the game plan that Belichick created to shut down Tyreek Hill and or will they just pick their poison and have one of them beat them?
That's the thing. I think you have to pick your poison because if you, like you said, if you just start doubling up on Tyreek or, put him in triple coverage, you have Waddle, in the short yardage situation where, say they're scheming for Tyreek on a big play, you just do a check down to Waddle. Waddle breaks out for 25 yards.
Yep.
So then what happens? But then if you pick your poison, it's kind of like you're putting I think you have to pick your poison because as much praise as we're giving Tua, the pressure is going to be on Tua to find those guys. And I think if you pick your poison, you're forcing Tua to make smart choices with the football, which this year he's proven. Remember, I always go back to our conversation about the Ravens game,
Ravens game,
right? That's exactly how they were scheming. They were scheming where, instead of having two guys on Tyreek, they would see Tyreek down the field. They would say, okay, we're going to keep a guy on Tyreek and we're going to keep a guy on Waddle.
I'm going to try and pull that up really quick. I'm going to stop sharing.
Go ahead, yeah. And let me explain as you're pulling it up. Like, we're just putting the pressure on Tua to make a decision here, because the thing is, the Tua in the past would have been flustered and maybe made the wrong throw. And I'm not saying he isn't capable of that even nowadays, but an underrated part of the offense this year as well is that he's finally gotten some decent protection. And you have guys like I'm blanking on the name. Oh boy. Well, I'm just saying in general, the offensive line has improved quite dramatically. You have Teron Armstead. That's why I tried saying, you bring in a guy like Teron Armstead, who's been a focal point of the offensive line the entire year, and the guys around him are going to improve just by nature because he's one of the best nose tackles in the league. So when you have protection, he has a clean pocket. That gives Tua the ability to make plays and make the right read because he's a smart quarterback. That's the thing. That's never been a knock on Tua. He's always been an accurate quarterback. He's always been a smart quarterback. But here's the play we were just talking about.
Is the screen good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so at the top, you see Tyreek, releasing. There's a corner across from him. We talked about this. You believe it was to mess Tua up. Now, I'm going to break down this for people who don't, because the pre-play you can't see because of the clip.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't you love my my little underthrow TD?
Yeah.
But so pretty much they pretty much stacked the box up front. Everybody was at the line.
Right.
They sent a fake blitz, so everybody drops back to cover. And if you look ahead at the throw, the corner who was on Tyreek is at the same area pretty much where he started. And nobody's back there to help. And like you were saying, Max, this is pretty much the Ravens banking on Tua making a mistake.
Making the wrong throw. Because look, back up a little bit. Show him the pressure. Show the pressure that Tua was in when he made that throw. So go back to the very beginning. We have everyone lined up. So look, they're clearly running zone because they know that they're going to try to shoot it deep. It's a 3rd and 6 in a late game situation, right? They're banking on the offensive line has played kind of spotty all game. Look, it's a high scoring game. Tua didn't have his best game, especially early on. And so what you're seeing here, like you said, it looks like they're showing blitz, but they all drop back, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing that Tua knows it's a 3rd and 6, game's on the line. I got to make a decision here. If you start just fast forwarding just a tad, you're going to see the amount of pressure he's in. So although it's a fake blitz, the pass rush gets there, and he has to commit to one of the two guys. He had Gesicki open there down the middle of the field as well if he wanted him.
Right here.
But my point is, like, he just said, screw it. I'm just going to give it to my guy, my playmakers, and let him do the rest. And at the end of the day, that was the right decision because that led to a touchdown.
And if you look, I think, because it's such a blurry video from the start, I believe this man here, one of these guys started at the line of scrimmage.
Here, go back. Let's see.
I can't tell who it is, though. It's this guy right here. Can you see my? Yeah.
Is that Kyle Hamilton? That might be Kyle Hamilton.
I think Hamilton was 14. So.
Oh, okay. Then never mind.
I can't tell who it is, but you see, he starts here, and that corner on Tyreek, who's lined up across from him. If we go back to where I was at, that corner is over here, and I believe one of these guys is that guy at the line of scrimmage.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
So, or maybe
that was the whole point. Is they wanted to show blitz.
Show blitz, obviously. But if you look, like, I know it's so odd, like we say obviously over and over, nobody's in the area to cover Tyreek. No. It was mainly to mess Tua's, throw him off, his mental, like screw him up mentally. But
they wanted him to rush the throw to Tyreek. That's the thing. They wanted him to rush the throw to Tyreek. That's why they had the corner there. So people are going to say, oh, no, it's because Tyreek is so fast he burnt the corner. Sure, I'm sure that's part of it, but that wasn't really how they were scheming to defend this play.
That defender shouldn't be this far back if it's man-to-man on Tyreek.
No, but at the same time, if you go back, that's not the defensive scheme they were running.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to force Tua to make a quick throw here to Tyreek and then bust the play or force a pick, depending on when he throws the pick. They didn't anticipate Tua being patient with it, scanning the field, and then giving it to Tyreek when he's actually open. That's the maturity of Tua. That's where Tua's
See if they
changed,
show
and that's what
anything.
led to the touchdown.
No, but yeah, like obviously you see here, there's no safety over the top,
Yeah.
and that's my question coming in. Like I was saying, coming into the postseason, how are teams going to play the Dolphins now? Because I don't think a mistake like that is going to happen in the postseason. I don't think a team is going to.
Well, you don't know because I think
Exactly,
maybe not to
sure.
that level, but I do think teams are gonna still try to force Tua to make the right throw.
Mhm.
And I think that's absolutely the right way to scheme it because he's still a young quarterback. That'll be, assuming he gets to the postseason, that'll be his first postseason ever, and he's going to be going against teams that are much more experienced than him in that position. And so I think it may not be that specific, play or scheme, but it will be, they will try to devise a scheme to force Tua to make the right throw, which I think that's the only way you're going to play. That's the only way you have a shot at beating these receivers. It's not about guarding one or two receivers because the thing is, they can't. No defense can compete with the speed of these two guys, like man to man. They just can't. So the way you do it is you force the quarterback to make a throw. You force him to make the right decision, and that's how you have to scheme for Tua. And I think Tua has proven that he is more than capable of making the right decision. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that his offensive line has given him time to make the right call. So
Yep.
the team's just much improved. The offense is looking stellar. The defense needs to wake the fuck up. It's very simple.
Yeah.
I know the Bears have been looking much better. I'm going to just finish this and we can go to the next game.
Yep.
The Bears have been looking much better. Justin Fields has been looking much better. So when I say this, I'm not taking any credit away from how they played yesterday. But there is no excuse for conceding 32 points to the Chicago Bears.
Yep, exactly.
There's no excuse.
And to wrap that up, because I was going to say, I think if we did power rankings for this right now, I think the Dolphins, you kind of move up, stay in the middle where you were at. I think the Bears honestly move up from this, even if it's a loss.
I think they're, let's look at the teams they're competing with in their side of the rankings. They're playing better than the Raiders.
Yep.
They're playing better than the Panthers. They're playing better than I would say they're playing better than Falcons. It's tough, right?
They're a 3-6 team that doesn't feel like they should be 3-6 right now.
No, at all. Whereas the Falcons are a 4-win football team that feels like they should be 3-6.
Yep.
So that's what's like. So how do you weigh that, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on to the next game.
Yep.
Which is the Seahawks Cardinals. Now, I was on Red Zone for this, so I didn't get to watch the whole game because they were going back and forth. But you wanted to talk about this game, so let's see what you wanted to say.
I just think it's really important. This is a real indicator of how legit this Seahawks team is. Because, look, going into this game, the offense has been cooking. Geno's been looking really, really good. Cardinals have been one of these up and down football teams. They had D-Hop coming back this game, so that was a major part. I'm saying because didn't they already play Seattle earlier in the year?
They played Seattle without D-Hop, and I think
without D-Hop. That's what I'm trying to say. And so that adds a whole new element. James Conner's coming back. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I guess this is D-Hop's third game back in this offense.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying this is the first time against the Seahawks, whereas the last time he didn't have him. So you're thinking, okay, this Cardinals team's better. James Conner's healthy. DeAndre Hopkins healthy. So it's looking like they're closer to a full roster.
Yep.
And listen, early on, especially on the defensive side, the Cardinals played this really, really well. Forcing a turnover.
Collins with the pick six.
Yep, that was a great read, great play on the part of Collins. Mistake by Geno, but that happens. And so I was watching that part of the game, and I was thinking to myself, the Cardinals might, that's enough momentum. They were the home team this time around. That's enough momentum to win you a football game, especially in the division against a quarterback like Geno Smith that's relatively unproven. But that to me, this is what really, really the reason why I really wanted to cover this is because following that play, the Seahawks kept their heads up, were calm, the offense was collected, and they went on to score a touchdown the following drive.
Yep. And
that to me says that this is a team that is legit, a team that is ready to win their division, a team that is ready to make a playoff push. Because although they may not have the best roster per se, best defense per se, they have guys that are experienced and they have guys that know what it takes to win. And even in the face of even in the face of adversity, a guy like Geno Smith is more than capable of imploding in that situation, right? I mean, he's been on such a high. You give up a bad play. A guy like that's been a backup most of his career, you think, oh, when is he going to inevitably implode? When is he going to come back to earth? you realize this guy just has so much confidence in himself. And you know, the team around him is just they're playing for him. I mean, look at his numbers. 26 for 34, almost 300 yards with a 106 passer rating. If it wasn't for that pick, it'd be higher. I mean, that's an incredibly efficient football game. And I think a lot of it is the guys are showing up for him. He just looks calm. He looks calm. He looks collected. He looks confident. And I think a huge part of it also is the emergence of Kenneth Walker III. I
Yep.
mean, the guy, ever since he's been put in, he's been balling out, man. He's been getting 100-yard games left and right, scoring touchdowns when they need him to. You know, again, we go back to how important a run game is for any offense. This run game for Seattle is making life so easy for Geno Smith. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from him because look at his numbers. He can
No,
pass quite a bit, but
we talked about the Bengals. You know, everybody praises the Bengals on how Joe Burrow plays like this, and that you still need to have a run game.
you need a run game.
Have to.
And then look at the numbers. Look how much he's spacing out the football. That to me is a huge part of it too. Is like, you know, you have Noah Fant had a great game, but then look at how he's spacing out the football. 5 receptions for Noah Fant, 5 receptions for Tyler Lockett, 5 receptions for DK, 3 receptions to the running back Travis Homer, 3 receptions to Kenneth Walker. Will Dissly had a couple big catches late in the game. Like, he's not just like force feeding it to his top receiver. He's really spacing out the football to his playmakers. Again, that's a sign of a guy that's playing confident, smart football. And the guys are really just making the difference for him because again, Seattle should not be this good.
Exactly.
We've been listen, I came into this year thinking Seattle was a bottom 2 team in the NFL on paper. This is a team that's going to win their division this year. The Rams just lost. What's the margin right now? I think they have a 2-game lead in their division, if not more.
I think it's 2.
I mean, but think about that. I'm curious to see the rest of their schedule, but I know they have to play the Rams.
Pull it up in a second.
Yeah, I know they have to play the Rams again. The 49ers are going to be really, really, really tough because the 49ers now they're better than they were at the beginning of the year. And you know, we got to see how that shapes up, but I mean, Seattle they are a formidable team this year. Like this to me was a big trap game. I was very confident the Cardinals were going to win it. I thought Seattle, you know, you've been playing really well all year. You've been, you know, the players have been seriously outperforming expectations. And I figured, okay, this is an Arizona team that's looking to push back in the division, home game. I just thought it was a trap game. I figured D-Hop was going to have a big game. But look, I mean, Seattle, man, good for you. Great game for them. So
I'll say this about Seattle. In the past, I was a known Seahawks hater, even though I knew they were good. You know, just trash talk, football life. You know, you just trash talk other teams. But this Seahawks team is different. I don't have an issue with this team. This feels like okay. You remember the Legion of Boom years and the Russell Wilson years? They like ran the NFL, but they weren't winning. They weren't winning playoff games. They were just running the NFL regular season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This feels like a team. Season time. You give this team a home game in the postseason.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows the 12th man is real, but I feel like the 12th man would have a different vibe to it in the postseason.
Well, we've seen it in years past with Seattle.
No, but like those were like good teams. Those were great defenses. Russell Wilson. This is a team led by Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, Tariq Woolen. Like, I'm not saying they're nobodies, but they just
they're I know what you mean.
They came out, and if you bring this team into a postseason game in Seattle,
you're saying the crowd can kind of carry them.
The crowd will be, you know, with them. The teams of 4, I feel like you put them in any environment, they would have won because that was a good team. You put this team though in Seattle, it's going to be a different feeling. It's going to be like we're not supposed to be here. They counted us out.
They're going to do their part. They're going to really do their part.
Geno Smith, since week 1, since that Broncos game, has had the most confidence in the world.
Yeah.
And you kind of thought, okay, it was a fluke. You know, the Broncos aren't this bad. Well, the Broncos kind of put it together recently, but the Seahawks have kept it rolling. And I don't know. Like, I don't want to trash the Cardinals too much. I don't think the Cardinals are that good. They're kind of up and down. I mean, like you said, their team is kind of coming together now. This
they're
was kind of a
1-4
game
at home, Frank. That's dismal.
that's not good. And look at the Seahawks; they're 3-2 away. Like I'm saying, they show they can win games not at home.
Yeah, they can.
You give them a home game in the postseason, Seattle's crowd is going to bring it. Like, I don't know if it's like because everybody always talks about the 12th man. Everybody talks about like something like Arrowhead and stuff like that. And there came a point where I thought this year the 12th man was going to be irrelevant for Seattle. I thought they were going to be a bad football team. I thought they weren't going to really be there, but they've been there for them. And Seattle has been doing good. You carry this energy into a postseason home game, whether it's just a wild card game or not. I don't think they're going far in the postseason, but that would be a fun game to watch come postseason time.
Think about, like you said, in a wild card setting against a team that, again, it depends on how the NFC East teams look, but 6-3 may not guarantee you let's see, do the math.
If you win the division, you get a home game.
If you win the division, but I'm saying assuming the 49ers can come back. But again, Seattle's proven they can play anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real. I'm so excited for that 49ers Seattle game. That's going to be – and they haven't played each other yet, have they?
Not that I know. Let me pull the schedule up.
Yeah, pull it up. I'm curious. I don't think they – yeah, they did. Yeah, San Francisco beat them week 2. Okay.
And then
so they play San Francisco Thursday Night Football in about a month or so, more than a month. So that's a big game, man.
Hey, look, you go into a bye, and you go play Tampa Bay.
No, because you're playing Tampa Bay next week. I guess that's Sunday Night Football.
Oh, my fault. That's not a bye.
They're playing in Seattle against Tampa Bay on Sunday Night Football. That's
no. They're overseas, 8 a.m.
Oh, 8:38. Oh shit, I didn't even notice that.
It's an overseas.
I saw 8:30. I thought it was nighttime.
Then you have the bye, and these are winnable games here. You got the Raiders. You got the Rams.
Crazy to think the Rams are a winnable game.
Right? You got the Rams. You got Carolina. Then you play San Francisco and Kansas City. You got New York, who's hot, and then you get the Rams again. So
I mean, again, we got to see if by December 4th the Rams have started, getting
together. Yeah. But
I mean, listen, it's still the season's still up for grabs for Seattle, but they're looking fantastic, man.
One thing I'll say, this isn't even like maybe it is like X's and O's related. Maybe it is play related, but I've noticed Tyler Lockett's taking some shots at Russ. Their chemistry. This team's chemistry seems to be team chemistry.
Dude, they want to win for Geno. They didn't give a fuck.
Russell Wilson. For Russ, it was like, oh, Russ is good. He'll make you look good. This is like, I'm here for this guy. He's here for me.
Yeah.
Like after that,
a lot more of like that camaraderie.
After they beat the Giants, you normally see press conferences with the player. DK, Lockett, and Geno had their press conference together.
Yeah.
They all stood up and answered questions. And then Lockett said, we want to win for each other. He said it's crazy how you can win when you're not worried about something about crazy how many games you can win when you're not worried about yourself or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to see this team's. That's what I'm saying. This team's chemistry, you bring them together for a home game in the playoffs. Watch out! It's not going to be like the past years. Man. But we'll move on to the next. Oh, before we move on, where would you put Seattle now and Arizona? I think Arizona has to drop, of course.
They're mid-20 tier football team. Like
you're getting better on the roster, but you can't lose division games.
Bro, 3-6, 1-4 at home. You're like 25.
Yeah,
and Seattle for me is on the higher end of top 15. You got to put them there. You got to put them there.
Move on to the next game. So I wanted to pull up video for this, and I might do that in a second. I want to pull up Josh Allen's interceptions.
You want to go? Okay. You want to talk about it now? Go for it.
No, I want to pull up the video because they were bad. Who was he throwing to?
Yeah, they were terrible.
It's I've seen some stuff of people saying he threw the game away because he got paid. Well,
they're saying he got dinged up. They're checking out his elbow.
Josh Allen did get injured. His arm bent backwards.
But again, I understand. Yeah, that sucks. I'm sure that definitely affects your ability to throw the ball. But I mean, some of those throws he was making.
This was a bad game from Josh Allen.
Really, really bad game for Josh Allen.
He had 2 rushing touchdowns, which, I know when you look at quarterbacks, the first thing you're looking for is passing touchdowns.
Right.
So you see he had 2 touchdowns. That's not terrible. Then you realize it was rushing. He had no passing and 2 picks against the Jets. The Jets aren't bad. I don't think the Jets are bad. Start of the year, I said the Jets have one of the better defenses in the NFL. People, I got roasted for it. I said their young wide receiver core is really good, even though, what's his name? Elijah Moore has some issues with Zach Wilson. I'm up and down with Zach Wilson. I like the running back room. The Jets just kind of like Seattle. They just put together a team that plays well together. I don't think they're that great of a team, but they're winning games.
But here's the thing with the Jets, though. The difference between the Jets and Seattle is I can name you guys that can change a game on an instant. Not to say Seattle doesn't have dynamic playmakers on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, they don't. And I can tell you right off the bat, Sauce Gardner's a top 5 corner in the league.
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy to think that we were all high on Sauce when he got drafted, but no one thought he would be this good this soon.
It's the
Stephon
impact
Diggs,
he's making immediately.
That's what I'm saying. Like, look, the numbers will do the shut. Oh, he got shut. The Stephon Diggs got shut down by Sauce Gardner narrative. The numbers won't really do you much justice because 5 receptions for 93 yards is decent, but a lot of that is think about early in the game he had 2 big receptions for I think it was 20 plus yards each. So those numbers are a little skewed. Throughout the game, Stephon Diggs was a relative non-factor. I think we can agree on that if you watch the game.
Well, I'll interrupt you real quick with that. So the Stephon Diggs big catch he had that people kind of posted that he ran by Sauce. I think Sauce was in zone that play. And then most of the game, Sauce was covering Gabe Davis and DJ Reed was covering Diggs.
Yeah.
So Sauce wasn't even on Diggs most of the game. And the numbers show it right there. Two catches, 33 yards, 5 targets. 10 targets, 93 yards, 5 receptions for Diggs. So, although Josh Allen threw for 200 yards, didn't have a touchdown passing, threw 2 picks.
And for a team and for the Bills' offense that the receiving core has been so dominant all year, that's a bad game. It's a really bad game.
That is a bad game.
They got lost in the sauce. I think Zach Wilson played an incredibly clean game.
I'm going to stop sharing and pull up the clips. Let me see if I can find them.
I think Zach Wilson played an incredibly clean game. I think really the MVP was probably Sauce and probably that defense in general. But, I mean, Zach Wilson, man, bouncing back after a terrible game against New England the week before. I mean, listen, you can't ask for much more from Zach Wilson. Played a clean football game, got the ball to the right receivers. Garrett Wilson had a really good game. And he did what he had to. I mean, and he was even in and out of the game with injury. So, we got it. I mean, he wasn't even playing fully healthy in that second half. So credit to Zach Wilson. Honestly, I think people are hating on him too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm high on Zach Wilson. I'll say Zach Wilson has a good team around him to succeed.
I don't think he's a terrible quarterback, though. People think he's horrible.
I think
he's much better than Baker Mayfield, for instance.
Is the screen sharing?
Yeah.
So this is the injury that Josh Allen had where final.
Yeah, that was bad. That's a bad injury.
Final drive, that elbow bent back. They said it's a UCL. I don't know where. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how it's going to handle for him. So
it's a bone injury here. I think it connects the forearm. I don't know.
It's obviously in his throwing arm. So
yeah,
that's huge. And then here is the Sauce Gardner pick. Let me rewind this. That's
just a bad throw. Like, where are you throwing the ball?
I mean, you could break it down all you want, but
where is he looking? Like, who is he looking for on that play? Has to be someone further down the field, but I mean, if that's the case, it's a terrible underthrow.
But you see 6-7 yards in between Sauce and the camera.
Yeah, there's no one there.
So,
yeah.
And
I don't know where that ball was going.
There's a DB on the other side of this line, so don't know where that ball's going. This is the pick he threw at the goal line.
It's terrible. Just literally laid in the ball. Like, what is that? Just
You
gave
could
him the ball.
you could see obviously the pressure right here coming up top, but maybe we're missing something. Like, okay, so if you watch the tight end, he is in front of the D. He is in
He
front of
should
the
have
DB,
thrown it there.
but then the DB he just
He
bad.
forced it.
Everything
He
was
just
bad.
forced it. He just forced it.
So
I don't know. That
with
was
all
just
that,
a terrible interception.
it is the worst game I've ever seen Josh Allen play.
There's definitely been worse when he was younger, but in recent memory, yes, absolutely.
But for like this Josh Allen,
Oh yeah. Like MVP level, like
and
Super Bowl
look,
caliber.
he had 2 fumbles too. I forgot to mention that. There was the one where he injured his elbow, and then he lost one. Or no, he didn't lose one. He didn't recover.
But he lost the ball twice.
Yes, 2 fumbles. Excuse me.
2 fumbles.
So there was the one at the end of the game where he injured his arm. Hopefully he's okay.
I'm curious to see the Jets schedule if you want to pull that up because I think the Jets.
So
they're looking decent, but I'm curious to see the types of teams they're playing for the next couple of weeks to see if we think. Like, I want to hear your prediction on if you think they can sustain this.
I'll tell you about it. So we have the bet, the 7-win bet. 7 wins, you got to grow out a mustache, something like that. Okay, so they just beat Buffalo. They play New England again, who New England week before beat them by 5. But I'm not gonna say they're you're gonna be riding. Oh, excuse me, they have a bye. Then they play New England, so that gives you time to prepare. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be riding high to beat New England because they just beat the Bills. Every NFL game is different. You know that.
Yeah.
I think New England can win this game, but I want the Jets to win. But
I think the Jets probably will win this game because I think Zach Wilson is due for a bounce back game against the Pats after how he played last week.
Yep.
And I think there's still although the Patriots just beat the Colts, that was an ugly win. They have no idea who's going to be their quarterback.
Look what happened. Wilson passed for 355 in that game. Just had turnovers.
Yeah.
So how about Garrett Wilson too? 115 in that game.
No, Garrett Wilson's been balling out. Yeah, Zach Wilson just played a very inefficient football game, and I think he's due for a bounce back against New England. Now it is at New England, and that's a tough game for anybody.
Well, that's why.
Look at their next 4 games. They have at New England versus Chicago. We just said Chicago's a really tough team to play.
Chicago's on the rise, so it's like.
And they're playing at Minnesota and at the Bills. That is really tough.
And I'm gonna be honest. If you show me this schedule and you said win or loss, just pick them now. I think they lose 4 straight now. If they
lose to New England, Chicago, Minnesota, and Buffalo.
If they beat New England,
I think they beat New England.
If they beat New England, I'm all right. Good job, but I don't trust them versus Chicago, especially because Fields is like we were talking about. He's on the rise. The Bears are moving. Minnesota's looking great. At Buffalo, Buffalo is going to want.
No, Buffalo's going to be. Dude, they're going to be down for the revenge. They're going to kill them.
Then so let's say they beat New England, lose this, and lose these 3.
They'll beat Detroit. They'll beat Jacksonville. They may lose to Seattle.
It's in Seattle.
And then potentially playoffs on the line or something of the sort for division against Miami. I think Finns win. Finns stay healthy. That's a revenge game for the Finns. They were with Skylar Thompson last time they played. So
we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses coming out of these next games.
That's still a very good year. To be fair, but
6-3, yeah. It's. I think I said they'd win
9-8 season.
I think I said they win 7 or 8. It's not a bad year
for the Jets. Hell no.
If you miss the playoffs at 9-8 as the Jets, you got to know we rebuilt in 1 year.
Well, think about it like this, dude. They just beat the Bills, so we're writing them off unfairly. I know, I'm with you, but I'm saying, dude, they just proved they can beat the best team in football.
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say they can't win some of those games?
That's true. Yeah,
the NFL is so unpredictable this year.
Like I was saying earlier with Seattle, if they're at Seattle, it makes it a little, especially that late in the year where Seattle's probably going to be fighting for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
In Seattle, that might as well be just a playoff game for Seattle at that point.
For both teams, honestly, could be.
Mm-hmm.
That game might be a really fun watch.
But after this game, I still think the Bills are the top three. You have.
I still think the Bills, because if the Chiefs would have put a more convincing performance against the Titans, I would maybe say you can make an argument for them being top. For me, I still would put the Bills because I still think the Bills at their best beats the Eagles.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be Bills 1, Eagle, but it's like a slimmer margin now. You can maybe make the argument for Eagles 1, Bills 1, Eagles 2. I'd still put Chiefs at 3, but I think the Chiefs are overrated.
I would put. I know, like how you're saying it, but I would maybe, because at this point of the year, the Eagles are 8-0. When it's early in the year, they're 4-0. They're 5.
I mean, I guess yeah. It's hard. It's hard for me to argue against that.
So I would put the Eagles, at the top, and then probably Bills second, Chiefs third. Even though
I hate Chiefs third, by the way.
What'd you say?
I don't think the Chiefs are that good.
After yesterday, they couldn't run the ball, and I know
they almost lost to a team that had no receivers.
Malik Willis played terrible.
Well, here's the thing: he didn't play well, but again, it's just since
we're talking about it, I'll pull it up really quick. I don't want to get into it like all these.
But I'm saying, like, dude, the Chiefs are a very good football team, but I don't think they're as good as people think they are. Mahomes is Mahomes, right? But
5 for 16,
dude. He had a great game on the ground, though. Huh?
Did you watch the whole game yesterday?
I watched most of it.
So I'll just break it down really quick. Because, like I said, we don't want to spend too much time on this. If you watch the game, damn, that was loud as hell, man. If you watch the game, it was more of like the Chiefs couldn't get nothing going offensively.
Yeah.
And the Titans were just bad offensively. You know what I mean?
Titans should have won that game.
The Titans
if the Titans were competent in the passing game to even like this, if they were like even an average passing team, they would have won this game.
Mm-hmm. Mahomes,
think about they had every opportunity to win this game.
Everything, bro. The amount of times, because I was watching with my dad, the amount of times I told my dad, and this is the third quarter we're talking about this. They just need to put a drive together now. They just need to score now. They you know what I mean?
They had 2 opportunities at the end of the game to seal it. The defense did their dude. The defense balled out for them, but the offense and it's not. Derrick Henry did as much as he can, but he can't like carry a team to like in that late game situation. You need to pass the ball.
You have to, and Malik Willis, being a young quarterback, took I think it was 2 sacks at the end of the game.
But again, I agree he had a bad game, right? 5 for 16, terrible. But I think it's not necessarily – I think it's like 50-50 between his play and the fact that receivers just suck.
Yeah.
Because if he had at least A.J. Brown for sake of argument, say A.J. Brown never got traded, at least he has one guy he can find open. And A.J. Brown's the kind of guy that can make plays for himself.
Yep.
So that would make Malik Willis look better. I think if they have A.J. Brown in this game, they win this football game. Even with Malik Willis.
Here's what I'll say. I think the Chiefs should have won by more. The Chiefs played really. The Chiefs
should have lost this game.
The Chiefs played.
Really should have lost this game.
The Chiefs made mistake. Travis Kelce had 3 drops. He dropped 1 pass.
He did not have a. I mean, he had the numbers
had a good
game,
but yeah,
dude, he got targeted 17 times.
I'll say this right now. The Titans defense played better than expected. They covered really.
They played fantastic.
Well. Mahomes, if you just looked at the numbers, Mahomes 400 yards. No, if you watch the film, the Titans defense played really good in coverage against them. They couldn't
run the ball to save their lives.
For most of the game, they had most passes covered. And then
I'm saying also the run defense. Like, dude, look at these: 4 for 5 yards, 4 carries for 5, 5 for 5, 3 for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. Like, okay, Mahomes scrambled, but that's because you're playing for the pass there. But the running backs,
Mahomes did it himself. Mahomes fourth quarter, he said, "Okay, we can't score. I'm running."
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak too much on this. Honestly, I don't think the Titans played they lost and Malik Willis played bad. They still played really good against a really good team.
Give credit where credit's due. That was a game that Tennessee should have won, and Tennessee are a legit football team. They just
I 100% expected the Chiefs to blow them out.
yeah, I think most of
And
us did.
Tennessee had the lead for 90% of the game.
They should have won the game. It's a simple. Listen, you get a receiver open, especially in the end of the game. You find guys that can make plays every now and then. I mean, dude, I don't know why they didn't decide to make a move for a receiver in the
that Chiefs pass rush came alive at the right time when Malik Willis had to make plays. And but we'll go over the NFL stat leaders real quick. There are your NFL stat leaders for tackles, passing, rushing, sacks, interceptions, and receiving. And look who we have in receiving, Max. Look who's number 1 and number 5.
Miami Dolphins. Yep.
So Miami Dolphins. And then rushing, Saquon didn't play this week. Did they have a bye this week? Chubb had a bye too.
Yeah, they have a bye this week.
Chubb had a bye. Derrick Henry, he played a good game. ETN played good, but I'm actually surprised ETN's that high in rushing.
Yeah, as am I. But again, another 100-yard game. He had 125 last game or 126. Now he had I know he had over 100. So those start adding up, I guess. But still, yeah, I mean, he was playing second fiddle to James Robinson most of the year. So
then passing, Mahomes is now the passing leader and touchdown leader, or passing touchdown leader. Brady, surprisingly, they won this week. Burrow played good. Josh Allen, he had his issue this week.
Do we have passing touchdown stats on here? Where is that?
No, they don't have passing touchdown stats. I just know. I saw it last night that Mahomes is leading. And tackles, Jordan Brooks for Seattle. That's a guy. We didn't talk about him much when we talked about the Cardinals. That's a guy this year who's kind of turned it around because remember he was drafted last year. I think he was the first round pick, and just like everybody said for Seattle when they had Russ, why are you drafting this guy? Why aren't you drafting a lineman to protect the better? Hey, those guys they drafted now are playing great for this team.
They are.
So TJ Mosley for the Jets at number 2. Sacks. I actually haven't seen who's leading in sacks. Matthew Judon. I think he had
a great year.
Did he have 3 yesterday?
I don't know.
I think Judon had 3 sacks yesterday.
I know Zadarius Smith is balling out for the Minnesota Vikings.
Bosa, Parsons, Garrett.
One
surprising for interceptions, CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Harrison Smith's having a bounce back year. Hoyer, I know, has been good all year.
Von Bell for Cincinnati and Eddie Jackson. Yeah. Eddie Jackson has had I'm so happy Eddie Jackson is playing good again because he was good when he was a rookie and it just kind of fell off.
And then fell off, yeah.
So
nice. Yeah, I like Eddie Jackson a lot.
But we will stop sharing the screen and wrap this up. 52 minutes, not as long as last time.
Not bad.
Not bad, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and peace.